Welcome back to another video, and in this video we're going to be continuing on with our SwiftUI tutorial series, and in this particular tutorial we are going to be taking a look at how we can make a view tappable in SwiftUI. Now there are a few things that need to be noted about how we can make views tappable in SwiftUI, and that is first, we need to make sure that we convey accessibility information to the user if they're an assistive technology user. And that is because now, why is this? I guess let's back up just slightly. The reason for that is because when we apply the modifier that we need to apply to make a view tappable, it doesn't automatically apply certain accessibility information for you, so you have to do it manually. Now, that may differ from platform to platform and version to version, but on, for example, iOS, it doesn't do that. So we're going to apply that accessibility information manually, so it will 100% guaranteed apply to every platform. And before we begin, I want to say I'm sorry that my voice sounds different and all of that. It's because I'm sick. It's the tail end of November. It's almost Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is tomorrow as of recording this, as a matter of fact. I'm sick, so that's peachy. I wanted to get some stuff pre-recorded so I can, so I can have all that scheduled and uploaded and stuff to give me time to recover. Excuse me. So let's go ahead and get started by going into Xcode. What we're going to build today is really simple. We're going to put an image view in the center of our app, and then we're gonna make it to where that image is tappable and clickable, depending on what platform you're on. And when you tap or click it, it will animate rotating the image 30 degrees clockwise. So the first thing that we're going to need, let's see here. Okay, first thing we're going to need is a state variable to hold the rotation. So we'll say at state private var rotation equals 0.0 for now. Of course, I made a typo here. Okay, there we go. Alright, so now that we have a state variable, let's go ahead and create our image. So we'll say image, system name, and let's make this the Swift logo, just to keep it simple here. Then we're going to make this resizable, so .resizable. We're then going to say .scaled to fit. Then we're going to set its frame, so .frame with a width of, let's say 300, and a height of 300. Alright, so now that we have our image configured, the next thing that we need to do is we need to configure, well, actually first, I'm going to set the tint color for the image. It's .tint .orange. Okay. Now we're going to set the accessibility information that we need for our image to convey to the user that this image can be tapped or clicked. And the first thing is we need to make our image and accessibility element where it ignores all of its children. Then we need to apply an accessibility label so the user has a better idea of what this thing is. And then, after that, we need to convey to assistive technologies that this is a button, not an image. That way the user knows, hey, we can tap this or we can click this. So the first thing that we want to do is use the accessibility element modifier. So dot accessibility element. This modifier has another overload that takes in a single parameter that basically defines its grouping behavior for accessibility children. Its default is ignore, which means all of its children is ignored. If you want to learn more about these accessibility modifiers that we're using, I have a 20 video series about making accessible apps for Apple platforms that you can check out, where I cover these topics a little bit more in depth and why they're necessary. Excuse me. All right, next is the accessibility label. So we'll say dot accessibility label. This will take in a text view at its most basic form. Again, if you want to learn more about this modifier, check out my 20 video series on accessible apps. Now, inside of here, I want to make sure that I'm in the right place. Okay, so here we'll say rotate Swift logo 30 degrees. Pretty descriptive and concise label. And finally, we need to tell the assistive technologies that this is a button. So we'll say dot accessibility, and we want the add traits. So accessibility add traits, and then we'll just give it dot is button like that. All right, so now that we have those modifiers, let's run our code just to kind of see where we're at. We'll run it. All right, it's gotta do its thing here. It's trying to run it, and I believe we're on the 16. No, we're not. Okay, we're on Mac OS here. That's fine. So here's the image. And in my voiceover screen reader announces this as a button, and it announces our label, which is exactly what we want. But if we click it, nothing happens. And that's because we haven't told SwiftUI that we want this image to be tappable or clickable. So to do this, we are going to use the onTapGesture modifier. Now, there are many iterations of onTapGesture where you can detect where you can run a closure after a certain number of taps. You can determine the location of a tap, all of that kind of stuff. There's many different overloads to this. I urge you to explore and experiment a little bit so you can kind of get a better idea of just how powerful this modifier is. But we're going to use the most basic one that just executes a closure when the view is tapped or clicked. Like that's all it does. All right. So we'll say dot on tap gesture like that. And inside of this closure, we want to execute some code. So we'll say rotation plus equals, let's say 30 degrees. So 30. And we're good on that front. Now, if we run our code, the value gets changed behind the scenes, but again, nothing happens with the image. So what we'll do next is we will apply a rotation effect modifier. So dot rotation effect. We want the one that takes an angle, and we want dot degrees as the angle. This will take in a double. So dot degrees. There we go. And then the double we'll pass in is rotation. Now when we run our code, and we click it, the image now gets rotated 30 degrees clockwise every time it's clicked or tapped. But remember how in the beginning I mentioned that we want this to animate rotation rather than just simply rotating? Well, we need to apply another modifier to allow this to happen. Now, of course, theoretically, you could use a with animation block, and that might work, but it's not going to work in all cases. So below our rotation effect modifier, we're going to say dot animation and we want the one that takes in an animation and a value that conforms to equatable, which will be used to kind of use the monitor for when that changes, and then animate everything. So we want dot linear. You could do, for example, spring or something like that, but we're going to use linear here. And then we will pass the value of rotation. So now, every time the rotation value changes, the view gets re-rendered, and the animation modifier will animate that change. So we will save this, and then we can run it again. Alright, here we are in our app. Now let's run our code. And you can see the rotation happens now very smoothly. It's not herky-jerky where the value changes and then it changes like just in an instant. Now it smoothly animates from one state to the next, which is precisely what we wanted. So with that pretty much does it for this video, guys. Thank you all so very much for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like on it. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Either way, it helps out the channel. If you want, you can subscribe as well and then hit that notification bell to be notified of new videos whenever those go live. You can also follow me on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it now, because I post some more stuff over there. Not exactly video content, but mostly just tweets and stuff that you can maybe laugh to, maybe relate to, that kind of stuff. But anyways, We'll see you in the next video.